Hey everybody, today we're going to be reviewing a VOD for Rosie. Rosie is a Diamond Lucio from PS4 who recently, like within the last 100 levels, made the swap over to PC. She feels she's struggling with her aim, and I'm going to review this VOD here from Comp the other day, and we're going to see if we can't help her out. It's good that she's talking right away. It's always nice to come into a game with a good attitude.
Pretty good.
It'll win you some
my last
games.
Match on Volskaya
honestly.
We had to go all the way for it.
Did you win?
Yep.
Oh, good job. Get some tanks.
It's a good ask. It can be tough sometimes asking for people to grab heroes, but definitely if you try to frame it in a way that is not aggressive, it's definitely good to try and create a better team comp if you can.
I'm having a shitty night.
Oh. Oh.
Well,
Okay.
game-wise.
Well, maybe I can help you with that.
We've got the
Alright,
Lucio
let's see if I can't
robot.
catch a tab here. So this is not a terrible team comp. It's pretty weak against Pharah, so I maybe wouldn't like it. But one thing, like maybe ideally you'd have a hit scan in here, but you need to remember that at a gold SR, it's not really worth flaming your teammates to make excessive swaps to try and generate the most meta team comp you can. You sort of just take what you can get, try and keep everyone from tilting off the face of the earth, and I think Rosie does a good job of that.
Your team, so.
That's just
I don't know about
motherfucking
that.
birthday,
DPS,
too. I need some
DPS
fucking
thank you
wins.
calls that.
Well, he doesn't play the game anymore, so he doesn't count.
Roasted.
I've just been getting some really bad teams lately. Nobody's sticking together.
We're a good team, so it's gonna be fine. Don't
Let's
blame
do
us.
it.
It's all good.
No, I'm just saying that's what I've been getting. Which is why my matches have been bad.
So this is a pretty good initiation here. You're with the team,
Yeah,
but
I am also following.
you kind of didn't call out the position that you were moving in. It can be nice, especially at higher elos, to say the direction you want to go. You know, say, oh, we want to go to point, or oh, we want to go left. Saying something like that before the round starts, make sure that you get as many people in that speed aura as you can. But no big deal. Definitely just a minor optimization thing.
Come in.
Looks like they have a Pharah, so that team comp might suffer a little bit.
Alright, 2 picks right off the bat. Let's get a point.
This is good positioning, and she noticed her team was a little bit
Or Pharah gets
low there, so she came out to kind of ambulance them back to point. Seems like well
Looks like
played
Zen's our only way to get
positioning.
far out of the sky.
Now, one thing I'm noticing here is that a lot of your jumps are really just very close to the ground. You kind of just are bunny hopping, which let's hop into Overwatch real quick and talk about how maybe I would like to play this point when we're in possession. So you're kind of jumping a lot, which is fine. Jump spamming isn't really super valuable with Lucio in general, but wall riding, of course, is. So what I see you doing is kind of this sort of thing, where you're taking this one jump off the wall and then you just use it to get some spade, which is not bad by any means, and it's something that is pretty easy to do. But I'd find that if you're trying to avoid getting shot while healing the team, if you're not doing poke damage, why not just be up here? You're infinitely harder to hit. And don't overuse your energy trying to get this done, but just developing these skills of spending time up off the ground is pretty valuable. So I would say that in this situation, it looks like you're mostly using your scroll wheel jump to pop on and off, which is good, and developing those wall skimming skills are super important. We should also be sure not to neglect the wall riding, which I just messed up right there, where you use the space bar instead and you actually maintain a wall ride for a period of time. And I think we'll see a little more of that as the VOD goes on. But let us jump back in.
Let her come top.
So that right there is probably the only real instance I've seen in this VOD. Spoiler alert, I watched it through already. It's probably the only thing in the whole VOD where I noticed a particular instance where your aim hurt you. So we can see that you kind of are aiming where he was, and you're not really predictive, which is not the end of the world. It's very hard to aim those projectiles and line them up, right? But I would say the best way to improve on that moment right there is to spend time in practice range, far distances away from those bots, like mid-range to long range, 10 to 20 to 30 meters. You try and hit your headshots while strafing when doing that. If you do that, it will improve your ability to hit that soldier there immensely, immensely. So I wouldn't stress it. It's honestly the only time in this whole VOD where your aim really, in particular, hurts you, where you had a stagger opportunity and you missed it. But definitely, if you're trying to optimize that, I think that is what you want to be looking at.
Good job.
This is pretty good positioning. You kind of pop out when the team is fragging out a bit, helping out, damaging the diva. That's fine. And making sure that you're healing, and also keeping your morale up too. You're not looking for mistakes, you're looking for things to complement your team on, which is good. Definitely. And even though you guys are against a Pharah without a hit scan, you're doing fine. It's good. It's another good ask too. Now, I would just say press C, right? But no big deal. So it's a little unfortunate that you were a little bit so focused on the ultimates that you didn't notice the Mei out there. I don't know that you necessarily should have or could have saved her anyway, but in that situation, you kind of want to keep heads up, right? Keep looking at what's going on while you're thinking about ults. And that's something that you'll develop over time. And I mean, everyone has trouble with it. I have trouble with it, where I just kind of lose focus of the game in order to figure out what the ultimate comp is. Cool. So again, we see more of this just like right on the ground level. And I think that if you try and get yourself up a little higher off the ground, you will notice some benefits of it. But no big deal. And I apologize if it comes off as overly negative. I see a lot of good here, and I wouldn't be placing you in gold right now, but I'm focused on trying to help you improve. So this is really great, that push up, and then you just dip right out. Dip right out. Dip right out. There you go. So you kind of wanted to maybe be a little bit quicker with the dip there. If you'd just kind of gone in, amped heals for about a half a second to get everybody up a little bit, or even just amp speed, and then dip right back out. And you didn't end up dying to it, but the Doomfist did. He might have died anyway because his positioning was bad there. That's the reason why you had to push out anyway. But potentially, if you'd just gone in and gone out and he didn't see you in front of him, he might have dipped out too. I don't know. No big deal.
Don't let them have long range shots.
So your Reinhardt there is saying to turtle onto point a little bit, which you're not doing a poor job of exactly, but so I think that was probably a weak beat just because of how many ults the enemy had and the fact that you were already 2 down. It wasn't a particularly bad beat. Like, it could have been winnable. The Zen also doubled up with you, though, and it kind of ends up hurting you for a good 50% moving on because you don't have a defensive ult. But I mean, it was mechanically quite a good beat. It was fine. Your positioning was good. You had a line of sight on everybody. It was just sometimes you got to notice, okay, we're 2 down. We don't have any picks. They have every ult. It's 99%. Let's just let them cap and then start back up.
Male.
Maybe not. Oh, we lost that point.
She did end up calling for the hold the ults towards the end of the fight, which is good. Yep, that's good. Doomfist is such a jerk. So this positioning, I'm not super happy with. You kind of went in to speed them out, but you didn't really need to take the high ground up there, and you weren't doing any poke damage. If they had a Widow or something, they could have sniped you off there, so I probably would have just gone to your allies directly and then sped them out. And here you're with one person instead of the 3 or 4. Not a big deal by any means. This is good positioning. Right at the back of the fight. Speed everybody out. Good job. Your Reinhardt was there too. You guys are going for the recap. I probably would have stayed on point there. And that, okay. So normally it's really hard to kill a Pharah. Like, it just in a fight, it's not exactly the worst thing you can do to just ignore her and focus on a target that's easier to hit, you know? But when Pharah is ulting, she becomes completely immobile. So it's really a useful skill to just be able to try and flick to her and headshot her a couple times and she's dead. So right here I'd be flicking, flick, 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 and she ended up killing you because of that. She probably
Reset, guys.
would have died anyway, or wouldn't have died anyway, but it's still good practice to develop if she's gonna be about to kill you. Try and make that flick.
I think if we
Again, this is like
build
minute stuff. This isn't, oh, this is what's gonna help you get from gold to plat. This is what's gonna help you get from diamond to masters, because this is not, that was not a play that a gold needed to make. You know, it was not something that you need to do. I'm just kind of teaching you not just the stuff that'll help you boost from this rank to the next, but also keep you going, because I know you're capable of getting to diamond without too much trouble. It's pretty obvious from this VOD.
Yeah, if we can kill
I
half
should
their team,
hope
we'll be
so.
fine, you're right. Sorry, I didn't mean to be sassy.
That was a good wall ride.
I sure hope so.
You kind of sped your team in, avoided taking poke damage, so try and do a little more of that, especially on King of the Hill maps. So here you're kind of cross-fading a little bit over much. We'll go back. So you're on heals, you amp heals. That was a little early of an amp, to be honest. And then you're kind of cross, 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 cross. So I probably would have just either been on heals and been with the Reinhardt, or been on speed and gone for the Mei. And because you kind of half and half, you don't make it to the Mei, and the Reinhardt doesn't get as much heals as it could. So you see, you didn't quite make it. If you'd been speeding and maybe hit some wall skims, I mean, I could run you through it. I could jump into Overwatch, recreate the positioning. So you started up here, you had a great wall ride into here, and then you amped. And we'll use our amp just to mimic that. And you amped heals. Wasn't strictly necessary, but it's what happened. Then I would have swapped to speed, generate some wall skims, and then boop her out. Or if you're a better Lucio than me, who isn't going to try and kill themselves booping somebody, you stay on speed with the Reinhardt, do some chip damage on somebody, and then you're in on the side of point. And this is actually probably the better way to do it. You come in with heals, you're behind the Rein. Nobody's really seen you this whole time. So you're kind of chilling right here. If somebody pokes you behind, gone. Somebody pokes you, if somebody pokes that right side again, which the Mei wouldn't be so scared of you because she didn't see you barreling down into her. She would still be out there poking, right? So she's just chipping away. And you're over here. So you just boop, boop, bye-bye. And that's pretty effective. So maybe give that sort of thing a shot. That's probably the best play. But hindsight's 20/20, and definitely when you're in the lobby, it's a little bit harder to kind of step back and acknowledge, like, how do I want to push this exactly? So don't over harp on it. It's not. It's just, you know.
And it's
I'm coming up. Oh, no, I got
Okay.
moved.
So this is actually sort of what I want to talk
Don't
about.
got it.
That was probably the biggest thing I noticed, is that kind of wall riding. You see again that you've been jumping in there, but you haven't really been taking too much of the verticality of the map into effect. So yeah, you were here, this was good positioning, you were fine, and you got booped, and it feels bad. And then you ended up somehow over here. And then what happens is you fall and die because you're kind of looking up, just like I was right there. So you don't ever want to really just look straight up. So I'll run over there again once I finally respawn, and I'll show you how I corner climb. And I could actually show you here first, just because it's a lower risk environment. So I don't actually just stay in the corner staring at the wall. I actually look at the wall that I want to be skimming on. So when I go here, I hit that wall. When I go here, I hit that wall, you know. Whereas if you just look straight up, you kind of end up trying to wall ride the same wall twice. And you don't have to be so dramatic as that first time I did it. You can actually go as simple as just turning your camera without moving your positioning at all. And doing that sort of thing will help you wall climb quite a bit. And that's the sort of thing I would be trying to practice. I think that is causing you more harm, your wall riding. I think that's causing you more harm than your aim is. I think your aim is decent. Definitely decent enough for where you're at right now. So you can see I just wall ride back up. Alright, back to it. Oh, I know how to work computers. What are you guys talking about?
Watch out, Sarah's still
guys.
floating around out there.
Yep, that's a good call out. She's probably near ult again.
Actually,
Looks like your team has got it, and the round is over.
Oh, man.
So again, overall, I think you did a great job. I don't think there's too much like macro stuff that you did,
not gonna
like,
lie, when I
oh, I
charged
made
in,
totally the wrong choice here. These are all really, really
I was
minor
like, I don't know if I'm gonna
things.
survive this.
And I would say that right now, probably the biggest thing you need to do is just get lucky, grind, have some good games like this one.
Now we just have to
Okay.
recreate that 3 more times.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
3 more times. What? You need 2 more times. So now you have a soldier like for the fair. That's actually a really good
Next
swap.
I
Yep.
do not.
It's a
It's
good
tough to
swap.
Reaper on this map.
So now we are on well. I'm gonna pause the VOD real
yeah,
quick
he is.
and pause the video
I do.
just
And
to
Doomfist is freaking.
swap my map
a
in
good
lobby.
Doomfist.
Alright, now that that's all set.
This is ridiculous.
He just got nerfed again.
Oh, good.
He's getting
Yeah, they fixed Snoopfist's hitbox apparently. I've played against it. It
I
feels a
think
little
they
bit better.
nerfed
He still
his
feels a little
range
bit
on
maybe.
his charge.
something.
Well,
No,
let's focus on the bot.
They
Alright,
nerfed
let's-
his range like 3
okay.
times in PTR.
It's
That's a
still
good call
way
for
too
focus
far.
right there, honestly. So
Increased range
this is
before
fine.
would be too short.
You're kind of in with the Rhine. That makes a lot of sense.
Get close range combo.
I would maybe try to make an effort on this map during that initiating fight to always come from a different angle than you just did there. So you do kind of lose a little bit of speed just by because you're walking in instead of wall riding in. Not a huge deal, especially when you're trying to speed in a team that first fight. But you can get some more speed by making sure to hit those walls. And you can see that I'm not particularly good at it either. You got people like Danny Oxo. If you want to really learn how to wall skim and get those rollouts properly, you should watch some of his vids. But you kind of came in like this and you booped right here, right? So that was fine, and you helped the Rhine out a little bit. He was slept, so you probably helped him get out of there. But what I like to do is either go through this right room below because I'm dumb, or if I'm actually thinking, I go up top right. So I wall right in. You don't have an amp in that situation, but you come in behind him, and then your boop is much more dangerous. It puts him into line of sight of here, here. So if your soldier's out there, he can put some shots onto them. It also still cleans up your Reinhardt while maybe giving him an angle to come in from behind them and back onto your other healer's line of sight. Whereas over here, it kind of pressures him into this room. I don't know. It's still super, super minute details, but try that right side push. That's how you're going to get people in the well right at the start. Back to the VOD.
Do you ever mash the keyboard so hard you ask for healing?
So that might have been another aim issue. You were kind of a little too focused on wall riding and not quite focused enough on aiming, which that is really just a time investment issue, you know. It's not like, oh, your aim is trash or something. It's because you were trying to wall ride so hard, you weren't focused on aiming right there. So what you need to do is maybe in those moments where you see those low targets, which are really easy to get, like that frozen baby diva or that frozen soldier on the last round, definitely stop, focus, get off the wall, just chill. Stand there in front of her for about a quarter of a second, line up your shot, shoot. You'll get some kills like that. That was kind of just unlucky as well because you pushed forward because of that wall ride speed boost and ended up getting dinked by a McCree. All right.
I'm so dead.
Pull back, pull back.
So that's a good call out that your team lost the fight there.
Yeah.
So no point in staggering in. Makes a lot of sense. And I'm
Mine too.
overall really impressed with those
Coming in.
comms. And this is where you see that diamond level understanding of the game shine through, even though you are in gold right now. Diamond plus, really.
Soldier.
He's flanking.
Behind.
So your May staggered. I would really be calling for a back off right now, but
Alright, let's
we'll see how the fight goes.
Okay.
And you're not really going in super hard, which is not too bad. You're giving people some time. This is definitely lost now, though. So here we see, again, the wall riding issue where you're kind of coming in low, and it kind of hurts you, where you went for that boop. So you came in from this side here, and you found the Ana. Actually, it wasn't even a wall riding issue. The wall riding can help, though. What you actually did is you just booped too early. What you want to do is you want to get behind the Ana. She doesn't do enough DPS. Take a second, line it up, and then boop. So I'd say a way to kind of practice that skill is just to kind of focus on a little bit of discipline with your boops. You know, you don't really want to just use it to zone people so much. And your zoning with it is quite good. It's definitely, usually you're pushing people in the right direction. Seen at one point you pushed the Ana over to the left. I think that's actually later on in the VOD. We'll see it later. And that's really good for zoning. But you should also be looking for those off-map boops. So you want to kind of maybe turn up the value in your own mind of your boop a little bit. It can be quite a big carry play from time to time. And then the other thing, what I noticed right there, is that you can actually try to come in from a higher angle, and it makes getting those boops a lot easier. So if you come in from up top, I don't know that you would have had an amp there, but you could make that wall ride without. You kind of get that good line of sight. And in general on this map, when a fight's going on, chilling on these lattices up top here is pretty nice. Some of the time, I end up chilling on the opponent's lattice, but generally, I'd say, especially if you don't think you necessarily are going to win the fight, this is probably the place to be, right? Because you're healing most of your team, because your team's either here or here, and you can easily jump to them. And the Pharah is going to have trouble hitting you and won't be able to do burst damage on other people as well. And you can still aim, you know. Lucio has infinite range, technically. It gets harder to aim accurately, but D.Va, you could just be chipping shots at her. And then once she gets demeched, roll in. Boom. Bye-bye. That was a terrible boot, but you get it. Back to it.
Aw, fuck's sake.
Unlucky. The fight's over.
You might need to switch to second tank if you get taken far out.
I would definitely not advocate the soldier swapping in that situation. I would say having a D.Va would be really nice, but the soldier is really pretty important for the Pharah. And it's not like you guys, I don't
This is
know.
my least
It's
favorite.
not the worst swap ever.
Ilias?
I hate it.
If it was a D.Va, it wouldn't be a bad swap. However, if the soldier had swapped to a Roadhog, that would have been
I
pretty,
love Horizon's great. I love that.
Where's my team?
kind of pushed in a little early. Didn't speed them back.
Most of us
And
over
they're back
here
now, but...
getting killed by May.
Alright.
Have you tried?
So this was a good approach here for a boop. Unfortunately, nobody's really set up properly. The Ana is, but you kind of see a little bit early on the boop there.
D.Va's boost.
Whereas you booped her, and it was a good zone, but you booped her and then she tried to get out, where she wasn't trying to get out before you booped her. So if you wait until she tries to leave, the Reinhardt's still messing with her here, and then she tries to walk away, and then you come in and boop her. She's like here, right now. And then she's lower than she was. She has less cooldowns. She really wants to get out of there, and she's dead. So, again, this is such tiny, tiny stuff, because most of the stuff I'm seeing is really quite good. But just, you know.
I'm 93 on ult.
That boop was maybe not so valuable.
Kill somebody. I have speed.
So normally I'd say that's a pretty bad beat, but because it's 99, that was definitely absolutely the right call. There, I would say that boop was, again, a little bit too early. You kind of underestimate the value of it. You're focused on the big target here in front of you. Gonna draw a bit. Instead of the smaller, easier to move target, the Mei there. So because you were looking for the D.Va, I think you missed out on a good opportunity for the Mei. Beat comes out. Kind of low, but not a big deal. And then you see it just pull it a little bit too early. So if you do that a little later, give yourself time to line it up. I think you'll see a lot. That was just unlucky. That was a great boop.
D.Va's out. Mercy and Pharah are above us.
Pharah half, I hit her with fire strike.
Pharah's
Nice,
down.
nice.
Nice job, soldier. Mercy's down.
In general, though, that was a great retake. I think your beat ended up carrying that fight, even though it was like a 3v6 on the start.
Good job.
See you later, Reaper.
Okay, I'm gonna maybe point out there that you do have the ability to wall ride over Mei walls without much difficulty. So instead of saying bye Reaper, just hop over, speed him out, and then if he looks like he's gonna die when you hit like the zenith of your wall ride up, you can just fall back. Definitely, Lucio is one of the better people to deal with a Mei wall because he can walk over and then wambulance their friend out.
Mercy and Pharah are above. I bet Mercy has res.
Yep.
Oh no, she already used it.
Still a pretty good assumption to always assume that Mercy has res. So I would maybe be
Honest one.
with the 1 health you had on the backside, which Reaper ends up dying. So let's go back another 10 seconds here. And let's see what could be happening. So you're amping heals. Everyone's pretty much full over here. And then you see the Reaper's critical there. And he kind of tries to dip. And he has somebody helping him. But I would say that when you saw that Reaper on critical, I would have just used those ludicrous speed that Lucio has. So you're here. You amped heals already, so you don't have the speed boost. But you're fast as fuck. So you're there. Heal. You don't have amp, but... And then speed him out once he gets health pack. And maybe he could have survived that. We'll see if it ends up mattering, but just some optimization stuff, like most of the things I'm noticing. Good amp speed. That was really good. Definitely saved yourself and maybe a team member or two with that speed boost. So you did see that McCree behind. You know the Doomfist is on him. He got him though.
They only res 2.
Yeah, and then they also lost McCree.
Okay, so that boop was actually too late. Diva DMAC boop is actually very specific timing. Let's see if I can catch it. Right. So, right there. As soon as you hear the first noise, the donk, you waited till the second one or a little bit past. If you do it right when you hear that first breaking noise, the Diva will go more in the direction you boop. Because you were a little late there, she kind of ejected out. And then you booped. And it didn't end up doing a ton. Nano boosted baby Diva. Unlucky.
I got May. I need help.
Farah needs to die. Oh, she's dead.
Yep, that's good target calling. It's the Mercy's pretty much the highest priority target right now, to be honest.
Let's go. Me and Lucio on the back.
So good speed. Help your Reinhardt.
Yeah, dude.
Doomfist definitely got some picks there. So good heals, good positioning. Trying to avoid that Pharah chip damage. I would now be talking about their ults. They're going to be looking at a nearby Mercy res and nearby Pharah ult.
Oh my god, did you punch him off the side?
Feels bad for McCree.
You're anti-
So that was another moment of a little bit too early. I think boop timing would also be another thing that'll really help you. I think that Ryan would have kept walking in. You can kind of just tell by his demeanor there at the... we'll see it, right? So he's full health. He's got a pocket Mercy. He doesn't really see you until you boop. And then he's like, okay, I'm walking back. As if you just waited a little bit, kind of chipped back and forth here while he walks forward. You get him when he's right here. Oh, he is gone. Bye-bye.
We're not gonna need it though.
Boosting stats. Always important.
Oh, May failed to get on that.
Not really. It doesn't actually make any difference.
Yay.
To be honest, if you really want to be optimal, you technically should hold that beat until after the round is over, just in case. But it's really... this is one of the most minor things ever. I make that mistake, quote, all the time.
You didn't like touch me.
He high noon.
So now we're on Ruins.
That's really, yeah.
I'm gonna once again set the map up real quick before we start up. Alright, now that that's all set, let's continue.
Finally, DPS that can actually DPS.
I mean, we have 3 of them, so I would be concerned if we weren't.
Oh, trust me.
Hot roasted.
Trust me. I had 3 DPS on one team. I was healing. Gold was 4 kills.
Oh, trust me, that's like a once in a while thing. I have for 2 miles.
I like 3 DPS.
Toxic.
Just the people
I do.
actually-
It's so fun to play 3 DPS with Lucio.
So you're kind of behind because you're too focused on your, I mean, that was a really great rollout to catch back up to your team, so it didn't end up mattering. But in general, try and make sure you're focusing. Once it's 5 seconds till the round starts, you know, snap back to the game.
I don't know why they're trying to do it.
Is it bad?
I think that was a pretty good amp.
Bad players are bad. Bad players. Ow.
Honestly, this is a pretty good game. You're kind of destroying them.
And inside.
I think that You
Yeah.
gotta remember that, especially at lower elos, a lot of your wins and losses are gonna be kind of forced because of people leaving or people tilting. So definitely that positive attitude. I can't overestimate the importance of that. It really will help you win games that normally you would lose. That was kind of just unlucky, but I think it's another instance of when being higher off the ground might have helped you out a little more. Lucio's his heal, his aura, it doesn't have infinite vertical range, but I think it does have longer vertical range than it does out on the sides. It might be a ball, it might not be a cylinder, but up here, if you were up here, you'd be fine. Right? So you can afford to, you can get a little more chip shots off. It's not super valuable, but if you want to be poking for that Pharah, I would definitely try and be higher up before I poked in. That was really just a luck thing, though. And again, it's especially at the elo that you're playing at right now. You don't really need to micromanage this sort of stuff. I'm just giving you all of the stuff that I notice instead of just trying to call out, you know, the stuff that'll help you bump up 100 SR. Let's talk about the stuff that'll get you 100, 500, 1,000, 10,000. All right, back to the VOD.
No, I jumped into it.
I would have just taken the unlucky. You don't need to tell your team. You just jumped into it. That's how they get tilted. I wouldn't sweat that kind of thing on the rollouts. Rollouts are really tricky. I have a lot of trouble with them. And they really aren't the most important aspect of the game. You know, you're going to get much more value out of making sure your positioning is good. Like, the rollouts are cool, but if you're shaving off a second, it's not going to affect you in gold. It's not going to affect you in diamond. It's not going to affect you in masters. It doesn't even really affect you in grandmasters. It's only at the really highest elo that having a good control of those rollouts is really going to afford you a competitive edge. But it's really about where you're looking there. I don't know if you saw that I kind of try to stay. I look away from the wall I'm about to go on before I go to it, because your momentum's already taking you there, whereas if you look there while holding W, you kind of end up, let me see if I can create it, you kind of end up like stopping, whereas if you kind of look off, you fly. Back to the VOD. I hope I'm not micromanaging too hard here. In general, I think your crossfades are pretty good. I think your heals choice versus speed choice is pretty good. I think your positioning is pretty good too. Though at this moment, I'm noticing you don't have anybody in this aura here. I think that was maybe not the best poke damage ever. We'll take another look at it real quick. Wow, that was quite a long time, huh? So let's be back another 20 seconds. So now everybody's here, and then your team kind of abandons you. And you went for that boot, which is fine, and then I'd be gone. I think there's no more value in you being here. I think it's just risk, unmitigated risk. But you do end up falling back, which is good. And now you're back on 1, 2. Definitely, though, kind of try and take notice when you're outside of everyone's aura. Or everyone's outside of your aura for long periods of time.
Watch for Diva ult. Nice.
So I know you're definitely feeling like here it's like, oh, I'm missing some shots, but I mean, especially at the elo you're at, it's not really the most important thing that you're hitting all those shots. I don't see anything here where I'm just like, oh, that person should have died because your aim was bad. It's really just a matter of taking the time, relaxing yourself a little bit on the topic, right? Just chill. Your aim is fine. Relax yourself on the topic and just kind of gradually focus on it. But some stuff that's more important that you really, I think, is easier for you to correct in the short term is things like jumping for targets that are low heals, getting those boops to be really high value. I think your beats have been really solid, so that's not really something to worry about at the moment. I think you're wall riding and maybe some micromanagement of position will help you in the short term. And in general, I don't think you really belong at the SR you're at right now. And that's just an issue of taking the time, grinding as you become more and more familiar with controls. So, no sweat.
Oh, fuck.
In the short term, maybe try and aim for those tanks, which you have been doing. So I would definitely have waited there, which I think you acknowledged pretty quickly. I would have probably gone back through the cubby and kind of poked a little bit on the left side just to see if I could find the McCree. And then I would not jump on the point until it's like here, you know, when it's almost completely capped. You jump on at that last second, so you try and bait out as much of the high noon timer as you can, and then you jump on. You do have the beat. I think you're right to hold it here. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Fine.
Beating for high noon is generally pretty low percentage. It's not the worst thing ever. It might have potentially won you the fight there, but I think you already had some people lost. I think it was the right call.
Alright, let's group up. We gotta get one good push. We'll be fine.
Yeah, push party.
One thing you might want to look at is replacing your crosshair. I use a short crosshair, and I have sworn by it for quite some time. Lucio really is an aim hero. His shots do land where you aim them. He's not like Winston or Symmetra. So putting in that regular crosshair, which we can see in my Overwatch, I have a green short one. I actually don't even love this one too much. I think I'd make it a little bit larger in the future, and I've actually got a little dot, which is kind of hard to see. But short crosshair I find is more valuable at getting your shots to land where you want them. Pillar, you know, just being accurate about it. And then it'll come with time, but having that crosshair, it also gives you those horizontal and vertical guides. So when I see somebody is like here and my crosshair is like here, I know that I can just flick directly sideways to them instead of having to wobble, you know? So that might help you out. Also, the green color I find is a little more visible in general than the white. That's really a personal preference thing. As long as you stay away from colors like blue and red, you will probably be fine. I have personally had the best luck with green. Some people like yellow. We'll hop back to the VOD now. I know how to work computers. Don't know what you're talking about.
We're going around? Yeah.
So now I'd definitely be looking for that beat. It's a good beat timing-wise.
Oh, you should have saved it.
And he should have saved it. That was definitely a late Zen ult. But it is kind of... So, alright. You're at 95. You want to just win this fight. So, it's not the worst Zen ult ever. He should have... If he was going to stack it, he should have waited until your beat was out. So, right now would really be the ideal time to be Zen ulting. But... it's not the end of the world to kind of stack those in the last fight. So if you see a Zen ult come out, and there's also a Hanzo ult and like a Pharah ult on the enemy team, something that could damage through a Zen ult, it wouldn't be the worst thing ever to stack them if it's at 99. But definitely not the best Zen ult by any means. Your beat was timing-wise very good, but I think mechanically you missed some people that you could have gotten because you were on the low ground, which I think we can bring it back here, right? So you're up here right now, right? And this is pretty good. I'd probably be up on the pillars up there, and you kind of just are just looking. You know you're looking for a beat drop, so kind of just assess where your teammates are a little bit. And this is hard to do in the heat of the moment, so don't overly harp on it, but just something in the back of your mind, kind of think, where am I beat dropping? Where are the targets? So everyone's kind of back there. So the way that I would be moving before the soldier ult came out is I would probably go across these pillars and try and hang out on the backup point, right on that high ground there. So if you had beat dropped there when the soldier ulted, instead of here where you do it, you kind of lose LOS on the rest of your team because you're stuck in that low ground on point. If you'd been up on that high ground, you might have had a little more luck. Not to say that it's a bad beat. Timing-wise, it was perfect, and that's really the more important aspect of it is that you're hitting it time-wise, but you should also try to be looking for those targets a little bit before you beat, not just during. which you do make an effort to move in, and I see that you got booped off. So it's sort of just, you got to use it because you're there.
Oh, you should have saved it.
Another thing that you can do, I don't know if the Zen is in chat, but if you communicate with them beforehand, I'd like to beat drop Soldier Ult, and you can Zen ult Pharah ult, which is actually the way you'd want to do it. Soldier Ult, it doesn't one-hit kill, so there's enough time to get beat out almost 9 times out of 10. Whereas Pharah ult, it's kind of like a snap reflex thing. So Zen ult is better because it instantly comes out as soon as you press it, which I'm sure you already know that. But maybe some of our other viewers don't.
Don't net.
Mercy's still up top. She's gonna try to contest.
Those are good call-outs. Good target focus.
Good game.
Nice work.
So let's see if we
Nice
can't
work.
catch your aim.
Nice.
21% accuracy is not bad. It's really...
Yada, who beat me.
It's really not bad for a game, especially on King of the Hill, where there's a lot of spam, and when they have Pharmacy, where there's verticality spam.
Oh, come on. Why wasn't it me knocking
So I
him
wouldn't
off?
feel too bad. I'd maybe try and focus on hitting those headshots a little bit, that sort of thing. But I think you're going to get the most out of your wall ride, and not just skimming, which you're very good at skimming, or maybe not very good, but good enough and more than good enough for your SR to skim and get a little bit of that speed. Your rollouts are fine, basically. But your ability to hang out on these high surfaces using your spacebar instead of your scroll wheel is a little bit lacking. And I think that maybe comes from being on console, where it's a little bit more of a struggle. Here on PC, it's really something that you can abuse quite easily, hanging out on these high ground pillars. So you start out up here, you're chilling. This is a little high, but you know, like in between a fight, it can be pretty useful, and it's fun. It's a good thing to practice in between a fight on this map in particular, is to just hang out on these pillars. And then when the fight starts, you obviously abandon it, come back to your team, switch on to heals, amp it up, push into their spawn, find the Widow on front right, boop her off the map. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, good game, well played. Don't let that aim like hold you back or feel like your aim is holding you back. It's really not. I think most of your challenges right now with Rising are going to be with the Overwatch Q system to a certain degree, and kind of maybe making some optimizations on your play. Anyways, thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks to Rosie for submitting the VOD. I really appreciate it. And have a good day.